Fam, what's up? Okay. 10:21. What's going on? Kyle Henderson, the Bama football on YouTube. It is August 23rd. Call line is open, and appreciate your calls. We'll go right to them right now at 973. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle. It's Chris from Montclair, New Jersey.
Chris,
long-time fan.
All right, Chris from New Jersey.
Love the old show.
Yeah, man. You know we're back. For the people that have been,
I like the old show. I love the new. The new show is great as well. I miss your banter with Bone though. That was fantastic.
Maybe the YouTube channel will become so big that I could just hire back Andrew Bone. Wouldn't that be, so goals one day. And I love Bone. I love Bone, and I'm so happy for the work that he does. And like I've said before, I have a lot of respect for, the people at On3 or whoever else is in this space. And Andrew Bone, good friend of mine. I'm really happy. He's actually expecting a baby number 2. And, I still talk with him. So much love for Andrew. And, go follow his coverage for sure. So we have Chris from New Jersey.
They're missing you more than you're missing them. I'm sure.
It's all good, man. So we got Chris from New Jersey. What's up, man?
Well, let's talk a little quarterback.
Okay.
And including you, I'm going to include you in this, my friend. It wasn't so long ago that there was a lot of Bama chatter about Bryce Young starting over Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you were in that camp. Bill from New York was in that camp. Touchdown. All your competitors. And we all listen. We all knew how that ended up. That was trust me. I'm a big giant Bryce Young fan, but I think the quarterback room for Alabama right now is fantastic. Your last caller, we're one play away from needing a backup.
Yeah.
So, I think you've got a great room. These incoming the freshmen that are in there are great. Lonergan, and then I don't know if you saw the highlights of the Julian saying, wow,
yeah.
He does look like a Bryce Young. So I can't wait for the opening game. Keep up the great work. By the way, when you did the last live from outside the stadium when the scrimmage was going on, great job, my friend. Great job. Keep up the great work.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it. I know you've been a subscriber for a long time, so you've seen kind of the work evolve, and I've always tried to bring quality content to the YouTube channel, so doing different things, and, I appreciate it. I mean, we have one thing that I've come to realize from doing the YouTube channel is that there's so many, like the brand, like Coach Saban said, if he's getting Roll Tides in Italy, of course we're going to get him in New Jersey or in Washington or in New Mexico or whatever. I think I don't know if I've ever had actually someone call in from New Mexico. Surely there's fans. Yeah,
it's coming, my friend. It's coming. We're and I went to Rutgers, but I'm all in on Roll Tide.
Yeah.
I love Saban, the program. You guys doing this. It just wouldn't float up here because we don't have any good football. But, I think what you're doing is absolutely fantastic. Listen, you've got a great, a social media presence. It's only going to get bigger.
Yeah.
And, they're going to, I could see you hiring some of your pals. That would be amazing because, you're, and I'll say this, you're leading this pack by a big margin. And you could see the numbers keep on getting bigger and bigger. I'm looking at your, I'm looking at the numbers. So great job, my friend.
Cool.
Great job.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. Call in anytime, and we appreciate the call from up in New Jersey.
Take care, man.
All right. See you, buddy. Chris calling in from New Jersey. We got a 706, and we'll just dive right into it. We'll keep it going. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Coach Smook from Phoenix City again. Well, I gotta stop saying Phoenix City. I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
It's football season. I'm used to saying I'm Phoenix City. So.
Oh man, I appreciate you you joining the show once again and giving me a call today. I told you before, when we were talking, I used to live up in Virginia and Alexandria. And Braddock Station. I mean, that was my spot. So now down here in Tuscaloosa, rapping with you, talking Alabama football on this beautiful Wednesday, August 23rd. So what's on your mind, Coach? Go ahead, shoot.
I think we talked about the quarterback situation a lot yesterday, and I heard a lot of great points being made. I'm just not surprised at how the narrative has changed now that a lot of most of the big outlets are pushing the Miro narrative. And one thing I want to say, and I want to give credit to you and a couple of the other channels that I'm closely connected with. When we all report on the status of these players and their development, it's literally what we evaluate. I mean, like me personally, I go off what I see on video evidence. I go off what I have connected people. Donnie Lee still goes to and me and Donnie Lee are personal partners. Mm-hmm. You know, he still has connections with the organization. So, I mean, I trust his judgment. I played with him, you know, and it's certain things that you hear in interviews and certain things that's being said and repeated throughout the locker room in each and every player interview, each and every coaching interview, that it kind of just aligns with Coach Saban and his track record when we talk about having successful seasons after quote unquote failed seasons or seasons where we came up short. So I think the whole narrative is shifting in the right direction now. And I don't even think it's more of a media-based swing. I think these players really are just out there dogging, man. Like, I really think the energy is so overwhelming and so, like, I guess, electric and contagious that any reporter that's come in contact with any Alabama player, even the ones that's, you know, in quote-unquote battles, you see the positivity, you see the focus. It's a different vibe around the Alabama program. And I made all those statements to lead up to this point. Our coaching staff has an opportunity to show up this year. If we look at the past 5 years at Alabama and how we struggled, even when we won the 2020 national championship, that wasn't a solid defensive year. That wasn't a dominant defensive year. That was just a year where our offensive side of the ball was just so locked in that nobody was stopping Mac Jones and the amount of weapons he had available that year. Najee Harris coming out the back. I mean, like, that year was just going to be Alabama's year, no matter what schedule we had. But to do it in the all-conference schedule makes it that much better. But you think about the defense we displayed that year, it was so inconsistent, man. And I feel like this staff and bringing Kevin Steele back, still having Jeremy Pruitt around the program, because I think people forget that we still have Jeremy Pruitt hovering around our program. You got a young Robert Balla. You got a good mixture of veteran and young guys on that defensive staff, and the energy is restored. I'm very interested in your thoughts as to on the defensive side. Does Kevin Steele come out with such an aggressive approach that does he lay all his cards out in the first game? Does he just let it loose? Or do we see a gradual progression back into what we know Alabama to be? Because me personally, and I'll give my take before you go, me personally, I don't think Kevin Steele holding any cards this year. With the personnel group and the amount of talent he has in that secondary, I see deep rotations. I see the playbook being just, especially defensively, I see the scheme just being let loose. I don't think Saban wants to wait to try to impose our will defensively this season. So that's my personal take. How do you feel on that?
I think, I mean, for me, I'm really excited about Kevin Steele. And I know people are just like, yeah, you know, kind of the next guy in is always exciting to talk about. But I'll tell you why. I think when you look at Kevin Steele, and I think I've said this a couple of times, and I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can, because what I'm about to say has nothing to do with the player's intelligence at all, because there's some very high-level players on the defensive side. And I'm not talking just ability. I'm talking like intellectually as well. I mean, I've talked with some guys and, you know, heard them spoke in media opportunities like Justin Mbogbe, very high level, right? The guy is super smart. Dallas Turner. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, these are men. Talk to Tyler Booker on the offensive side of the ball. One of the most articulate interviews we've ever had. So when specifically looking at the defense, and I've said this a long time, I don't think the defense has to be complicated, right? You don't have to have, I mean, I think, who was it a couple years ago on one of the national championship teams said that Alabama under Pruitt, they ran like 2 or 3 plays. That was it. Like they relied on their like they relied on their athleticism. Like it doesn't have to be overcomplicated because you have so many dogs in that room that can chase down defenders, that can play man coverage, that can get pressure on the quarterback. Like those are the level that would, like, if you're a 4 or 5 star talent, you can just go out there and play. And I always kind of like revert back. Like I was recently watching that Johnny Football documentary on Netflix. By the way, you should check it out. I thought it was really good. And one of the things is like, just go out there and play. Right? Sometimes you like make the game almost too complicated in the sense like we've all played football, like tackle the guy with the ball on the offensive side. And when you're on the offensive side, don't let anybody tackle you. Like, sometimes I think like some of these coaches that have been here in the past kind of overcomplicate the defense. And this year, that's why I'm excited about. Yeah, that's why I'm excited about Kevin Steele. And one thing that he said that I'm so excited about when we played the press conference yesterday, kind of a rewind of Kevin Steele talking, he said, look, the Bama standard of defense hasn't gone anywhere. It really hasn't. He said he was here back in 2006, 2007, whenever it started, and it hasn't left. But the game of college football has changed for sure in terms of the offensive approach because now people are putting up so many points. You're facing these dynamic players on the outside, and that's why I'm so adamant about Alabama getting a kind of a explosive tight end. And I don't think they've had that probably since like Irv Smith. I think the other guys have been kind of serviceable. Right. And Irv, right. Irv was definitely a guy, but like you need that type of playmaking tight end. And on the defensive side of the ball, like Kevin Steele, is the right guy for the job at this right time. Is he going to be here for 5 years? No. But for this year to kind of, bring back the focus, a dialed down approach to defense, go chase down the quarterback, wrap up the running backs, and lay your imposing will on the wide receivers. That is what we want from the defensive side of the ball.
Facts, man. And I'm telling you, even Kevin Steele being back, I think that and we talked about that statement yesterday about just simplifying things and allowing guys to play football. When we were referencing how the wide receivers and the quarterbacks were always off, they were never on the same page because they're thinking too much. You can't play full speed when you're thinking 70, 80% of the play. And people, we use that term, football is 80% physical, 20% mental. Like that, it's really 20% mental. Like you should be able to physically impose your God-given physical anatomy and abilities on the field and not have to slow down and think about it. And that especially implies on the defensive side. Yes, you have to have some wits about in coverage and how to, technique and things of that nature. But when it all comes down to it and that ball's in the air, I want a guy out there playing football. When that ball's being handed off and the players around, I don't want a guy still thinking he has to check for, a fake screenplay off to the side that has nothing to do with this ball being already handed off to the running back. So many times last year, Henry Todd would just be standing there after the ball was handed off and finally chase down the block. Chase down the play after it, went 7-8 yards past him. And we can't have that. We got to have destructive guys filling that hole. And Kevin Steele is the guy for your job. You got guys like Tresman Marshall. You got guys like Campbell. You got guys like Deontay Lawson that love to hit. Justin Jefferson loves to fly around and hit. And the amount of depth we have inside, I think, honestly, the amount of depth is going to be the difference with this, the way we scheme. And like you said, with Jeremy Pruitt, when we had Jeremy Pruitt, it was literally 3 play calls, and the only major, oddballs and changes you would see, the extravagant stuff, was within your front 7, your stunts and your blitzes. Your checkouts. That's all you saw. You would maybe bring that nickel, that star in for the corner blitz, the short corner blitz every now and then. That's what Alabama would say before, short corner blitzes, being able to send guys off the edge because you got to account for the 4 that's already getting pressure on your quarterback. Once we get that mentality back, I think we're going to see it. And I think we're going to see it early. Texas is going to feel us. I'm telling y'all. People are discounting our defensive line because we don't have the flashy names. Yeah, we hear about Jaheim Otis. Yeah, we say Justin the Boy, but we're deep, man. Tim Smith got his head on right. Tim Keenan is got his head on right. I was able to report last night. I got word that his head is on right. It's just he's in practice right now. Tim Keenan, everybody go watch his highlight film. The kid he knows how to play when them lights come on. He showed us last year. The opportunities he got last year, Keenan created a lot of disruption in the run game when he got chances to play last year. So I expect big things from him. Latham, I think Latham is just a sleeping giant ready to be cut loose. I mean, we're deep at the D-line, and I haven't even talked about any of the freshmen. I honestly think James Smith is going to see the field before it's it's all said and done in week 2 against Texas. I'm talking about good third quarter reps, maybe 3 or 4 good hard reps from a beast you just can't keep off the field. Keon Keeley too. Get him on the field for 2 or 3 snaps. Let him go chase the quarterback. Let that guard that's been trying to guard Braswell and Turner all day, let him have to deal with this 6'5", 245, 255 freshman that just want to go after the quarterback. And you got the rotation at the secondary. I think this is going to be probably the deepest, most talented defense that we've had access to at Alabama since probably 2016.
Coach, let's go through the depth chart right now on our lads. On with Coach Smook. The call-in line is open. It's at the bottom of the screen. I think I put it on in the comments as well. Call-in line is open right now. 205-850-1994. It is 10:40 a.m. Central Time on August 23rd. So if you want to call in, you can do that. But Coach and I are breaking down Alabama's defense. Let's go over this defense. I'm going to put this full screen. So this is from our lads, and I know a lot of media outlets have started to put out their kind of projected depth chart because next week, Alabama's official depth chart, which is released one time during the season, will be released to the media. I told you guys before, it's hilarious how it starts because they put they hand it out like at 11:55 a.m. Central Time right before Coach talks next Monday, and then everybody tweets it out, right? My 615, I'll get to you in just a second, but let me chop it up with Coach real quick as we go over this defensive projected depth chart. Okay, so this is our lads, and our lads kind of they skim together and they put this together, but I'm in Tuscaloosa, I'm at the facility, and Coach is dialed in, so let's look at our lads and kind of, look at the depth chart, how they have it so far. And we're just talking defense right now. We'll move to the offense in just a second. So, okay, they have defensive end as Justin Mbogbe. Okay, check. That's right. Nose tackle, yeah. Otis. That's right. We're talking the first team right now. DT, Tim Smith. You think Tim Smith or Tim Keenan or just kind of one and the same, Coach?
I'm thinking that defensive tackle spot is one and the same depending on the set. And that's why, like Coach Saban says, he hates depth charts for this reason. Yep. Because if we line up in 5 wide, you won't see Tim Smith and Jaheim Otis on the field at the same time. Yep. You get what I'm saying? You'll have Boydby, Otis maybe, or Smith, and then you would have those big outside linebackers that you walk down there and hold down the end. Because you're going to have your 6 DB set. You're going to have your dime or your Rush Nichols set out there. So that's why I said, so I'm with you. They're one and the same there with Smith and Keenan.
Yeah, exactly. And then on our lads, for example, they have Tim Keenan way back on the 3rd rotation, which clearly isn't accurate. So those are some errors on their part. Okay, Jack, they have Chris Braswell. They have Tresman Marshall at the will. Inside linebacker position. And then they have a middle backer, they have Deontay Lawson. Those would be your inside linebackers. And I've said this before, I think Jahad Campbell and Tresman Marshall, kind of, and just like you said, like there's not just one specific starter based on different packages. It could be a different guy based on personnel that they're matching up with on the offensive side of the ball, right? And then you have Dallas Turner.
A little inside note on that. A little inside note on that I want the Bama fan base to remember is the last time we was able to have a solid 4-man rotation, I mean like sets where guys came out and were still effective, there was no drop-off, was the 2015-2016 range when you had Rashawn Evans, Reuben Foster, Dylan Lee, Keith Holcomb, all those guys. We had a deep rotation for the inside linebacker group. And I want to say Jamie Mosley was part of that group too. Yeah. It was like a 3-4 man rotation. And that year, when we had the top rush defense, and also we set the record for the most non-offensive touchdowns in one season. that same year, when our inside linebacker group stayed healthy and everybody was fresh, we were a 3-4 man rotation in our inside linebacker room.
Okay, so let's continue that. So, and then you got the corners, and I have another caller, Coach. So I might put you on hold, and then you can just call back. But let's finish this defense out, and then I got my 615. So, Coach Smook, call back in like 10 minutes, and then we'll continue this because I'm gonna be here for a little while until I break out time in the next meeting. Is that cool?
Yes, sir. I'm good. I'm here, brother.
All right, call me back in 10. All right, Coach Smook's gonna call back, and we're gonna continue that defense. 615. Hang on, just real tight as I continue this depth chart overview, and then we'll go back over it. So you got Dallas Turner at edge at the Sam, and then your corners right now is Trey Amos and Kool-Aid, and they have Trey Amos over Terrion. I want to get Coach Smook's thoughts on that. I think. Look, each of those guys are going to play. It's like that's why Coach Smook was just saying like about the depth chart. Coach Saban doesn't like that because, for example, like if they go dime, then you have Trey definitely in there as the additional defensive back. But I would probably have it Terrion as a starter next to Kool-Aid, and then with your safeties, they have Jalen Key over Devontae Smith / Christian Story and Caleb Downs, and I think that is something to look at. And then they have Malachi Moore at the star position. But we'll go to our next caller right now, where we're talking about the Alabama depth charts at 615. And we'll start right now. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, this is Nick from St. Paul, Minnesota.
Nick from St. Paul. Appreciate you calling in, Nick. What you got on your mind, man?
First of all, Kyle, I love the show, man. Good content all year round. You get us through the off season, so I appreciate it. And this everyday stuff you're doing lately is really getting me hyped. So I'm ready for the season, and I appreciate all you do. First thing I wanted to ask you, have you seen the Netflix documentary Swamp Things?
No. Can you give me the cliffs on it? Because everybody's talking about it. And I mean, I saw I was on Twitter, of course, this morning, and people were like talking about it. Give me like the cliff notes about what I'm missing.
Oh man. Hey, first, it's a great series on the Gators and how Urban Meyer kind of established the Gators and brought back. Not even brought back, but established them as a dynasty. And it was from their run when he first started, which was a little bit earlier than I remembered. I guess it was, maybe 2005 that he got there. Mm-hmm. And then it went through up until, basically Bama killed their dynasty. And it just talked about, the mentality that he established day one when he got there and how it was a militaristic approach. And how he sought out leaders and tried to make people quit and leave the team who didn't want to be there. And he just made it so grueling, and he admitted he wanted to be the toughest program in America, is what he said. In those couple years from 2005 to 2007, in 2008, that was when I was in school in Tuscaloosa. And I remember watching that SEC championship game, and it being so close, and in the fourth quarter we choked. But I was still so happy that we had finally made it back to the SEC championship. And then it goes into 2009. They had all those guys back, Tebow, Percy Harvin, and they thought they were going to, repeat and win 3 out of 4 years. And then they ran into the undefeated Crimson Tide at number 1. And basically, they just talked about how Alabama was the much more hungry team. That Florida was a better team on paper, according to them, but we ran through them like what, and Tebow, they had him crying on the big screen, and it was a really great piece, and everybody wanted to talk about why Urban left, and I think that Bama and Saban had a big reason to do with that.
On the line with Nick from St. Paul, Minnesota. I appreciate you calling in, talking about Swamp Kings, the new documentary out on Urban Meyer and kind of the rising and the downfall of the Florida Gators under Urban Meyer. And I definitely want to check it out. And to your point, I mean, did you check out the series on Johnny Football? Not the series, but the documentary.
Yeah, I did. I watched that right afterwards.
This is the part that I love, but hold on. I want to get to Josh inside the comment box. He's like, Roll Tide from Seattle by way of L.A., Lower Alabama. And I think that's so hilarious. Like if you lived in L.A. or from the West Coast like me and you then moved to, I'm not from the West Coast, but I lived in L.A. and I moved here and someone was like, they're from L.A. LA in Alabama is Lower Alabama. So I just think that's hilarious. But yeah, so the reason I bring up the Johnny football, and thanks for the clips on Swamp Kings. I'm gonna watch that if I ever get a free second. Right now, I'm like so dialed in and doing a million different things, but I definitely want to watch it. But the thing that I loved about Johnny football was the fact that look, Cliff Kingsbury, when he was the OC, was just like, look, go out there and just play football. Right? It's kind of like what Coach Smook and I were just talking about, like on the defensive side, it doesn't have to be complicated. And like he had such an innate ability of running the offense and just being a playmaker. He was just like, go out there and just play. And, you know, can you see that from like Jalen Milroe? Because I think you can just like, he's such an electrifying athlete and he has all these intangibles. You just like, go out there, man. Look, this is the game plan. But like, if something goes wrong, just play. I mean, he's 6'2", 230. I mean, just play football, right? I mean, he's the best athlete on the field every single time that he lines up. So that's kind of what I was thinking about the Johnny football in terms of like how it could relate to here. But I love the whole part about Johnny football when, you know, it's like the NFL scouting combine and the Cleveland Browns fly in and they're like, where are your wide receivers? And he'd been partying all night the night before. And they're like, where are the receivers? He's like, oh, they're good. So it's like his agent and somebody else are running routes for Johnny football. It's like, yeah, it was crazy. So anyways, we're talking documentaries. What else you got, Nick? And we're online with Nick from St. Paul, Minnesota. Appreciate the call from way up top of this great country.
Yeah, just, you know, that documentary just kind of had me thinking of what I've noticed the past 2 years. And really, it kind of started in 2020. We started out really slow. We didn't really look like ourselves as far as, you know, when I think of Alabama and when Saban, you know, got here, it's been just, you know, the intensity, the hunger, the fire, the passion that you see every single play from the players, and especially our O-line and our entire defense. And that kind of went away in 2020 to start the year. Now we got it back at the end, thankfully, but that's what's been missing for me. And Coach Smook kind of hit on it, inside linebackers. That's kind of fallen off since the Reuben Foster era. Mm-hmm. He, in my opinion, was the best linebacker we've ever had that I've seen in person. Mm-hmm. You know, Toa was a great linebacker, but he has a ton of tackles every game, but I'm hoping this year, Darius Robinson and, you know, if it's Marshall or Jihad Campbell, if they can step up, you know, I think we have a chance to get back to the old days as long as Steele can help get that fire back in our guys.
You're right, and that's why I was so pissed off about, because I follow the 49ers. I talk about that frequently when because they don't often get players from Alabama. Like they have Cam Latu, who, by the way, caught a touchdown just recently in a preseason game, but they actually had Reuben Foster, and things just didn't work out for him out with the 49ers. Just like, you know, but here at Alabama, I mean, clearly, I mean, certainly one of the best to ever be here. But anything else, Nick, before I get back to Coach Smook, but when we're talking about the Alabama depth chart?
Yeah, just real quick, and then I'll let you go, Kyle. Our deep line, you know, I think that's also been probably the biggest reason we've kind of slipped the past couple of years. I think we lost to Tennessee, especially because of it, that we don't have that dominant defensive lineman. We don't have the the Christian Barmores, the Marcel Garrett's, the Codys. We don't have that dominant inside guy, the Quinnen Williams, that can really get through and fight through a double team and put pressure on the quarterback. You know, you saw that 3-man front, even 4-man, and we just could not beat one-on-ones last year.
You're right. I think like the defensive line, like Christian Barmore, he played pissed off. Remember, he's from Philly. Like he was mad. Like he was going to do something that either got a flag or he was going to hurt somebody. Like every single time he snapped off the football, like he was mad. So having that kind of like that dog mentality that you need specifically in the trenches with your DTs or somebody who's chasing down the quarterback in the trenches is something you absolutely need. Does Keenan have it? I guess we'll see. Does Otis have it? Kind of feel like Otis does have it, but Barmore played. He played pissed off. So I appreciate the call, Nick, coming up from St. Paul, Minnesota. You enjoyed this. I would assume it's warm for like one more month before it ices over up there.
That's right. Enjoy it while it lasts.
All right, Nick. Call again next time, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Kyle. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide to you. That's Nick coming all the way up from St. Paul. We got a 7:06, and we'll just jump right into it. Yeah, I appreciate you calling, man. Thanks for calling back.
For sure, man. For sure, bro.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Is this who am I? Is this Coach Smook again, or did we get another caller?
Yeah, this Coach Smook, bro.
I gotta write the numbers down because the volume of callers that I've been getting has just been crazy. So what I do is I have like an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm listing like my favorite callers and the numbers, but they like keep coming in. So I got you plugged now, Coach Smook. So no longer will you need an introduction when you call, man. So with that said, I love getting the call from up in Minnesota, right? It kind of shows you the brand. And like Coach Saban's was talking about, I always go back to that. So you're back. So let's go back to that depth chart real quick, because I think you were bringing up some good points. And now that I've kind of ran through it, give me your take on the secondary, how you think it's going to shake out based off our lads. And then we'll kind of chop it up back and forth based on that.
Okay, and I think our lads has they're kind of hinting something based off of the alignment in the secondary from this last scrimmage, and honestly, to me, and we talked about it last night, this just tells me that we might have struck gold in the transfer portal to the point where you have a guy like Terry Arnold who came to Alabama as a safety. He strictly played safety in high school. He played some drop down safety cover corner sometimes, that nickel star position, that dime safety, but he was primarily an overtop safety. His range and his ability to track the ball was something that we saw in him during recruiting that wanted us to go after him and convert him to corner. And honestly, from what I'm hearing and what I was able to see during the first scrimmage, the growth has happened. The same type of growth we saw with Kool-Aid from the end of his freshman year and that explosion he made that sophomore year after week 2, I think we're going to see that type of growth, if not better, from Arnold, which makes him interchangeable with a guy like Amos. That doesn't force you to put Malachi down in the box so soon and have him, make those cover decisions. You make him cover first and then support the run, which is what his strengths are. So leaving Malachi at the start, it helps us, based on our lives, it kind of helps us. But I honestly see it being Caleb Downs and Malachi over top. You talking about your base nickel group. I see Caleb and Malachi being over top, with Jalen Key being your first safety off the bench, meaning that first DB, anytime Malachi has to go in the box, and we don't have the personnel for the I guess you could say like the heavy quarter set when you got the linebackers with your 2D linemen. I think Malachi walks down and you have Key over top because that guy has some crazy range at the free safety position. And a lot of people, they're going to look at, the level of football he played before coming to Alabama. But I don't think y'all understand that UAB played some solid schedules these past 2 years. So Jalen Key is not a newbie to this type of competition. Honestly, him coming to Alabama shows that he wanted to be proven. He was highly sought after out of high school. I think the thing with him was just, he didn't have the smarts, the wits about him, the playbook. So him coming to Alabama and passing that test and being able to get pushed into, the rotation this early in fall, not letting it drip over into game planning week, but into the second scrimmage, you're implementing on that first group. That's something good to say. But I think we're solid with either corners on the boundaries, Amos, Arnold, and Kool-Aid. Anybody else opposite of Kool-Aid as far as Amos and Arnold were good. And do not sleep on seeing Earl Little getting inserted in our dime package early.
On the line with Coach Smook, we have a 919 inside the call queue. We'll get to you in just a second. Hang tight on the line with Coach Smook as we're breaking down Alabama's defensive depth chart. Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. I appreciate you guys coming in from wherever you're coming in from. We got calls from Minnesota, from New Jersey, from VA. I mean, that just shows you the strength of the Alabama Crimson Tide football brand. Online today, so hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. I appreciate all the continued support. We're talking about the Alabama defensive depth chart right now, and one of the things that I do like about this setup with our lads, and look, the Coach Saban doesn't like depth charts. We're not even supposed to talk about the depth charts, right? Like, he gets so pissed off. So two guys that I like still, Devontae Smith, right? I think the stock is still trending upward. Earl Little, as you said, thanks for mentioning him, Coach. But I do like, you know who's dangerous coming off like some of those corner blitzes from the star position is Malachi Moore. Like, he's a great open field tackler, and he likes contact, right? So, and I do like him at that spot. Now, I know during A-Day he swapped to that safety spot because just Alabama didn't feel, from a depth area that, they needed to move him back. That's how versatile of a player he is. But you bring up such a great point. I actually wrote it down that Alabama probably did strike gold in the transfer portal with Jalen Key and Trey Amos, right? Like, bringing those two guys in. And usually that's why I'm saying, like, the transfers that Alabama brings in, those guys get on the field absolutely. Now, people were like, does that translate to the quarterback position? Probably not. But in the past, we've seen it really translate, like Jermaine Burton, Jahmyr Gibbs, Henry Toto. You guys can list all the transfers that came in and did start. Now, it's a higher percentage of guys that do come in and start right away for transfers than not. High Power TV is asking about Jake Pope. Jake Pope's probably there. What do you think about Jake Pope, Coach?
Jake Pope, he's going to shine on special teams this year. It's just the secondary is so deep. Yeah. And he's in a perfect position as a redshirt freshman. He got his red shirt last year. He's still basically on the field as a freshman this year. I'll tell you this, Jake Pope is ahead of Christian Story. Christian Story, I don't know if it's the injury that kept him from getting over the hump and getting on the field, the mental part of recovering from the ACL injury. But Jake Pope is ahead of Christian Story when it comes to, you're talking about guys off the bench if somebody goes down. Jake Pope is ahead of Christian Story. And Jake Pope, the only thing literally keeping Jake Pope off the field right now is the fact he has so much experience in front of him. Because if we didn't strike gold with Jalen Key, Trey Amos, if Smith, if Caleb Downs wasn't a true freshman that came in and just had it all, Jake Pope is the first guy you're looking at the strong safety. You get what I'm saying? He's in that competition with Devontae Smith to start at strong safety. And we don't hear a lot of talk about his twin over there, but Brayson Hubbard is making noise too. The guy's a physical specimen. I don't think people realize how big those boys are. And Brayson Hubbard is a world-class sprinter too. He's a world-class sprinter. So don't be surprised if Jake Pope is inserted on kick return or punt return. I'm hearing some things about this guy, just how special he is, because he played both sides of the ball in high school.
Coach, I have a 919. I'm going to put you in the call queue, and then I'll bring you back in, okay? Just hang tight for me.
Yes, sir.
All right, we got a 706, and we'll take that right now. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from? Hello? Let's see. Try it again. One more time. Here we go. Hello, are you there? 706. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with? Oh, it looks like we're back to Coach. Hold on, Coach. My bad. Doing some, I do all the stuff, like all the calls myself too. Oops, 1 second. All right. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Oh. Hello, Kyle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. I'm having a great day. Super productive. Got the kids out the door. I make the lunches the night before, which is always a pro tip if you're a parent. They got the sandwiches, the chips, the oranges. I send them even with some cucumbers. I'm not sure how they felt about that. But overall, it's been productive. Went to the bank, have a meeting with a pastor at 12. So, yeah, it's things are going well. Thanks for calling in today.
That's awesome, man. Hey, You might have heard of my YouTube handle. I'm Buck Wild Longhorn, man.
Buck Wild
from Temple, Texas.
Okay, Buck Wild from Temple, Texas. Okay.
Yes, sir. And what I wanted to talk about today is you were talking about the defensive depth chart for Alabama, and I kind of wanted to give over way too early. You know, we're 2 weeks away from the Texas Alabama game, and what I was looking at on here is that the Texas defensive line versus the Alabama all-line and vice versa, I think is going to be the key matchup of that game. I mean, you're going to have y'all's guy, Dallas Turner versus Kelvin Banks. You're going to have our guy, Barron Sorrell versus y'all guys, J.C. Latham. So key to the games, I think, is that if the Texas O-line can provide just enough time against Dallas Turner and y'all's other guys up front. I know that there's the Otis guy that y'all been talking about quite a bit, and looking good in camp.
Yep.
If they can give him enough time, I think that Quinn Ewers will be able to do something.
Yeah.
And looking at the depth chart, I mean, besides Kool-Aid, you don't have any really proven secondary, you know?
I mean,
I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, first of all, thanks for calling in, you know, and talking about this Alabama-Texas matchup. And I think we've talked about it several times. I had a show earlier talking about, you know, kind of the matchup between Alabama and Texas. And I strongly feel it's going to be, because you're right, like 1,000,000% Quinn Ewers is a quality quarterback. And I love kind of his body transformation. We're talking about Jaheim Otis, who has transformed his body type. He's a defensive tackle that we've talked about. But same with Quinn, right? Like he's down like 20 pounds. So he's more athletic. Everybody was talking about kind of that Texas picture floating around, talking about the athleticism that Texas quarterback room has. And then you add on Mitchell. You have Xavier Worthy coming back. And those are going to be great matchups for Alabama's secondary. Look, you're right. Like Terrion Arnold, I've been hyping him up. But people, when they think about Terrion Arnold, they get scared because of the game when Alabama had to go against Tennessee last year and Jalen Hyatt lit him up. You know, who knows? So Kool-Aid is 100% the guy at corner. But as Coach and I were talking about, outside of Malachi Moore, there's guys that have spot played. But overall, I mean, the defense doesn't return a tremendous amount of knowledge. So, for example, the all-SEC team came out. So you only had two guys make the first team list from Alabama, which is Kool-Aid and Dallas Turner. Outside of that, you know, a lot of these guys we know they're talented. It's Alabama. But still, like, in terms of game action, we got to see them when the bullets start flying.
Yeah, that's very true, very true. And, you know, another thing, y'all are projecting maybe a Caleb Downs, true freshman, starting at safety.
Yeah.
How much do y'all trust him having to rotate down and cover Jatavion Sanders, which a lot of you know, databases consider him to be the second best tight end in the country?
That guy is phenomenal. Last year when I was watching tape of Texas, I was like, who is that? You're right. I mean, he has NFL written all over him. And that's what I want Alabama to have, is some sort of tight end hybrid wide receiver. Texas has it. Brock Bowers is just a complete beast from Georgia, right? He's in a whole different level. But somebody like Sanders,
he's way too good.
He's unreal, right? But you're right. So that is going to be, you're right. Like, that matchup is critical and it's scary. Look, Downs is a freak. Coach Saban has high praise for him, but I think, I mean, for example, this last scrimmage, I think Caleb Downs was beat on some burn coverage. He's a true freshman. That game, can you imagine the speed playing against Middle Tennessee and then the speed playing against Texas the next week? It's going to be like going from like a college game to an NFL Sunday game like that. That's how fast Texas is going to be playing, 100%. Like, it's going to be a completely different speed. So, yeah, it's kind of a warm-up game, but I think it kind of doesn't do them a lot of justice, because when Texas gets on the field offensively, that is going to be some speed. Like, you know, and I get it. Iron sharpens iron, and Alabama's going against, you know, their wide receivers who clearly, I mean, we've been kind of ragging on the receivers, but let's face it, like Malik Benson, Isaiah Bond, those guys are elite-level speed. So it's not like they're not accustomed to it. I'm just saying on Saturday when the lights go down in Tuscaloosa, it's going to be some great matchups on the field.
Oh, I think it's gonna be an amazing game, and I'm not a overheaded Texas Longhorns fan. Like, we're going to blow them out. I think it's going to be a very close, grinded out game. If we win, it's because Quinn had enough time to distribute the ball.
Yeah.
If Alabama wins, y'all were able to bully our D-line and run it down our throat.
And that's something that I was talking about earlier today. I actually ran by the bank and was talking about with my banker, and he was like, look, do you think this is the year that Alabama kind of goes back and starts running the football? And as I was talking about with Sean from Huntsville, who's an avid caller and who loves to break down tape, he was like, you can reach your hand into a jar of the running backs, because you really can here at Alabama this year, kind of every year. But this year in particular, it's like a running back by committee. So you have Jace, who you guys remember from last season. He busted off a big touchdown run. And that's no disrespect. It's like it actually happens. So You know who he is. Roydell Williams is very talented, especially inside the goal line. Jam Miller, you guys know about him too. Because I think, either he was committed or his brother. There's some sort of relationship to Texas with Jam Miller. And then, you have Justice Haynes, who's the 5-star freshman who's scored 3 touchdowns in the spring game. So in Alabama's offensive line, like the past couple offensive lines, I've been a little bit, I've been like, kind of ho-hum, kind of like I am this year about the receivers right now. But this year, I'm really excited about the offensive line. So I'd say that that's one of Alabama's strengths. And then along with the running back room is totally Alabama's probably top unit, and followed by the outside linebackers. What else you got, Buck Wild, while you're on?
That was pretty much it. I just wanted to try to talk over the keys of the game, just a little preview.
Yeah.
Because, let's be real. The Middle Tennessee for y'all, Rice for us, that's equivalent of watching an NFL preseason game. Neither team is going to learn anything about each other from that game. They're both going to play vanilla. Nothing's going to be super special about those two games.
Yeah, no,
the season starts week 2 for both teams.
Yeah, but college football does start finally this weekend, as you got my beloved New Mexico State Aggies taking on UMass. That game is actually going to be on ESPN. And then you have USC's playing. You got Notre Dame playing. So yeah, finally we made it. So next week,
I'm telling you, as a football fan, I'm definitely going to watch those games just because it's time. I'm going to a high school game this Friday just because I need to get it into my blood.
Me and you both. So, yeah, I'll definitely be at a high school game for sure. Hey, so Buck Wild, anytime you want to call and talk about, Alabama and Texas, even after the season, just call in, man. We appreciate it. Good feedback, and take care from Temple, Texas.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that week after the game, I might call in no matter what the score is, just to kind of break it down.
For sure, 100%. Call in Sunday night. That'll be a fun show, or post game. Who knows? Just call in.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. See you, buddy. All right, that was Buck Wild calling in from Temple, Texas. So that's what I love about this show is we've been to New Jersey, we've been to Virginia, we went to St. Paul, Minnesota. We went to Temple, Texas. Like people love Alabama football. That's so amazing just to kind of see the growth of the brand. And that's kind of the way that the university has also, how the university is. There's people from all over at the campus. Like you meet some of these students, you get to interact with them. They're from everywhere. Alabama's done such a great job pulling from all over the country to the University of Alabama. I think that has certainly helped with the brand. Of course, it doesn't hurt when you have Coach Saban and everything that Alabama football has done. Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. I appreciate you guys, watching wherever you guys are calling from. I'll be on for maybe 15 more minutes or something like that, and then I have another meeting, so I'll put it back on simulcast till I'm back in the afternoon. We do have Coach Saban this evening. It'll probably be around 4:45. So I know this is a running stream, but don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can continue to get the notifications when we do drop individually cut videos. And I think I'll probably recut this one because this was pretty good, considering, the amount of calls that we did get and some of the people that we've been talking to, especially Coach Smook. Smook, if you want to call in one more time and we can run through the offense if you want, I appreciate that. And then I'll probably bounce out to my next. I have a lunch scheduled here at 12 at Hotel Capstone here in Tuscaloosa. I saw in the comment box too. Let's see. I think it was Josh Miller. And thanks, Coach Smook, for becoming a member. What's becoming a member? A member is another way to show support to the YouTube channel. So hit the join button underneath the YouTube channel. There's a couple different options. You can also hit the Venmo button for tips. I really appreciate it. And of course, super chats go a long way. This is what I do for a living, is Bama football on YouTube. And I really appreciate you guys, supporting me. And this comes from Josh Miller, longtime Tide Illustrated member. It's changed names like 3 times since 2005. We miss you and Cecil Hurt and the recruiting guru. That's Andrew Bone. Everyone knows that. And I hope we don't have ill feelings towards you. No, never, man. Life is too short to hold any type of hostility or resentment towards anybody, So, look, first of all, Cecil Hurt, one of the best, probably the best to ever do it in Tuscaloosa. So that you have the Bear Bryant Museum here in Tuscaloosa. And it has, when I first moved here, I looked at the reporters. They have kind of like a hall of fame for the reporters from, years past. And 100% he's going to be added to that. I mean, how could he not? If not, kind of have his own wing about, journalism. And when I first moved here, one of the things that always stood out to me was just the fact that it said covering Alabama since 1982. Something like that, right? Like I was born in 1983. So, that was a heavy hit to the beat that covers the team. I know a lot of people have a tremendous amount of respect for him and loved his tweets and all that stuff. So, yeah, a big piece of Alabama was lost with the great Cecil Hurt. So we, of course, have great respect for him. I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know, it's like the Naylor Stone / Cecil Hurt media room or something like that. That's how big of an impact he had on, Tuscaloosa. And I know Coach Saban really cared about him. And I talked about Andrew Bone earlier, really excited about, the things that they have going on, with On 3 and all that stuff. And I'm a big supporter, like Tony Tsoukalos, my guy at Rivals. All these guys doing their own thing. I love it. It's great to see them continuing to do their craft, covering Alabama football. I mean, I love it. And this is a time where they shine. And look, I'm going to tell you, these guys, the work that they put in behind the scenes, I should do behind the scenes kind of media one thing. Because sometimes I think people, they don't necessarily take it for granted, but they don't understand the work that puts into it, right? For example, when Coach Saban's press conference ends, those reporters stay in that media room and it's silent. They stay in there for 2 hours and they're writing these compelling stories and trying to figure out, and they're editing their stuff. I mean, dead silence. They all have their headphones on. They work 100%. It's not like they just get there and then bounce out. No. There's a lot of people who put in an amazing amount of work into everything. Okay, I'm going to be back later on this afternoon, and then we will have Coach Saban, talking about this final week of fall camp. And this will be the last time that we hear from Coach Saban. Will be tonight up until next Monday, which will be the first week of the season. So tonight's press conference, I expect it to be good. This is another fall camp call-in show during the week. My name is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. I will catch up with you guys in a while. I'm going to do a simulcast back, so it's going to be some of our best interviews and whatnot from, these last 2, not necessarily 2 weeks, but some player interviews and some good calls. And hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll be back here in a couple hours right here on Bama Football on YouTube.